All right, Tay. Well, Hephaestus is kind of free now. All right, so the reagent shop is going to show you, obviously, the new stuff. Ooh, the beam dust is so pretty. Attunement chips. Okay, so Jupiter's Might, Saturn's Reaping, Phoebus's Grace, Neptune's Fury, Fires of Mars, Pluto's Peril. By the way, that's the Roman versions, which is funny because the Aquila stuff is the Greek versions. The Roman ones are the ones the planets are named after, if you forget which ones are which. Pluto, Neptune, etc. That's the Roman versions. If you have Poseidon and Hades, etc., that is the Greek version. Terminus Strike, Poison, Judgement, and Frostbite. Yes. I wonder if Gamma's still out here. Oh, yes, Gamma is. Whatever, liars. Not falling for that a second time. Ooh, how pretty. They got it. Very nice, very nice. Ooh, look at it go. Wow, that looks great. Okay, so now that we bought one of each of the spellements for the new and newly added spells with Spellement paths, let's check them out. First up, there's Fire of Mars. By the way, a version of these spells is in the game, but these are quite different than the previous ones. For instance, I have a Wrath of Hades Onyx that I got from the Scroll of Fortune past. Oh, and also those particular spells, the Wrath of spells, are only available via item card. Now, fighting in all of these Aquila dungeons does give the opportunity to drop the jewel that gives these spells. However, they're all very high pips. So the Wrath of Ares spell does 600 fire damage, then detonates 1 overtime. The Fires of Mars spell, and aesthetically, they're identical. Like the image that they're using is absolutely identical. This one does 1305 chromatic damage over 3 rounds. So whatever school you are, that's what damage over time it casts. So you might have to do a little bit of math here. It's 1305, your school's damage. It puts 3 of those on and they last for 6 rounds. So each one is doing a flat rate of like about 73 damage each per round. However, you can probably boost these up. And by the way, these are 8 pips for this one. And then for the bottom path, it does the fire damage and then gambits up to 4 harmful wards and then puts chromatic damage, whatever school you are, over time, over 5 rounds. So this one puts 3 separate overtimes, totaling 1305 for this one. But once you get over here, it does the fire damage, and then it gambits up to 4 of those, and then gives you your school's damage over time that lasts for 5 rounds. Next up, we'll go with the Neptune's Fury. Previous version was called Wrath of Poseidon, cost 9 pips. It steals 1 positive ward, then did 650 ice damage. This one costs 9 pips, does 710 ice damage, and then puts 2 35% traps. On the top path, the damage just goes up. On the bottom path, still costing 9 pips, but now it does a lot less damage. It clears up to 8 positive charms on the target, and will put on a 40% ice trap for each one. Okay, and we also have Frostbite. Luckily, it still costs only 5 pips, and it does the 80 damage and then 495 over 3 rounds. The upper path, the overtime amount increases, but the initial hit stays the same. If you choose the lower path, however, the damage goes down a little bit, but it's all at once, and then it clears up to 4 positive charms on yourself for 55 chromatic of the target ward. For instance, if you had 3 blades on you that you weren't going to use, and you were hitting a death creature, it would take 3 of those blades away and put 3 55% death shield on you. And then there's Jupiter's Might, the storm spell, which previously was Wrath of Zeus for 9 pips. It did 955 damage and then put a plus 25% storm global, which, yeah, you see him do that a lot in the battle. That's literally his cheat. This one, however, this one is 7 pips, does 730 storm damage. Then it puts an aura on the target, a negative aura, by the way, that increases whatever school the caster is incoming damage for 4 rounds to that creature. So if you are a fire wizard that has learned this spell, first it's going to do 730 storm damage, then it's going to put on a negative aura that increases the incoming fire damage by 35% for 4 rounds. Nice. And on the top path, the damage just goes up each time. Then on the lower path, if you choose that, the damage actually goes up. Wow, that's new. This one does 850 storm damage and clears 3 damage over time and puts a negative aura of the caster's school for incoming damage for 6 rounds. So this one does more damage, but it only puts that negative aura on if you're clearing damage over time. And then we have Saturn's Reaping. Now I thought that this one was just Zeus again, but actually no, this is Cronus. Totally different guy. He has the blue sash and the different looking head laurel thingy. Anywho, it's myth. It does myth damage and then puts on 3 traps of the caster's school. And for Wrath of Cronus, costs 9 pips, does 950 myth damage, and removes positive ward and positive charm. I don't know exactly how many. I would hope all of them, but you never know. On the upper path, the damage just increases a little bit each time. If you choose the lower path, damage goes up a lot, but it has to gambit up to 4 positive wards, and then it'll give 60% traps of the caster's school, up to 4 of those. Wow. And also the damage goes up a little bit each time for this one. And then for life, Phoebus Grace. And in Roman mythology, that's just another sort of name for Apollo, the sun god. In case you're wondering why Apollo is now named Phoebus, which I guess as a joke, it would be Pollo. You get it? He's a big old chicken. Anyhow, the Wrath of Apollo is the previous version. 9 pips, did 650 life damage and 30% positive charm. Next incoming healing spell to all allies. Nice. Now see, this says next incoming heal. So wouldn't that be a trap? Or a trap looking thing? Anywho, Phoebus Grace. This costs 8 pips and it does 405 life damage and then 1080 dual heal over time for 4 rounds, which means there's 2 different heal over times, so that 1080 is split in half. Each one will be doing 540, but that goes over 4 rounds. And if you upgrade on the top path, the damage goes up and the heal over time stays the same. However, if you choose the bottom path, the damage goes up to 635 and it gambits up to 3 damage over time for heal over time at 1020 over 6 rounds. But that's per damage over time that you take off. If you take off 3 damage over time, that'll be 3 times 1020. Booyah. And by the way, make sure you pack in that leprechaun and you can activate the heal over time and get your heal immediately if you needed to. Alrighty, Pluto's Peril. Previous version was Wrath of Hades, doing 1175 death damage after 3 rounds. I think the other thing that was cool about these is that they tended to be like what the bosses did in the battles, which was kind of cool. And as with the others, it cost 9 pips. This new one, Pluto's Peril, costs 7 pips, does 500 death damage, and then puts on 2 50% tower shields. The top path, the damage just goes up as you upgrade it. The bottom path, however, it does death damage and gambits a negative aura to put on minus 65% tower shield. 3 of them. Sweet. And then there's also Poison as the new death spell that has a Spellement path. A lot of spells have been adjusted or changed, but Poison was not previously having a Spellement path before. Now, we haven't really been told where we're going to be getting Frostbite, Poison, and Judgement from, but they could be from the Beast Moon, because the last new spell that got Spellement path, well, when I purchased the event Spellement pack with the loyalty tokens, I got the Spellements for that spell. Death, damage, and damage over time over 3 rounds. And with the upper path, the initial hit stays the same and the overtime damage amount increases. With the lower path, it does death, damage, and then clears a negative aura to give you 2 50% death bloodies. And then for balance, there's a Terminus Strike. And in the Roman mythos, Terminus was the god who protected boundary markers. Says his name was Latin word for marker. This one actually has a slightly different picture, and this one is the one I'm most disappointed in because this spell is so cool. The previous version that's already in the game is Wrath of Aquila, and this is one of the Praetorian guards, still costing 9 pips, but the cool thing was it is a quad hit spell. First, it'll do 275 in either fire, ice, and storm, or death, life, and myth. Then it also does a balance hit. I was hit with one of these spells, and I was so shocked. I was so happy that I was recording it. Here you go. Enjoy. Ooh. Now this one only costs 8 pips, and it does 580 balance damage, and then it gives you 2 25% balance blades. The upper path damage goes up each time. The lower path, however, does a lot more damage, 640 balance damage. Then it echoes, which means it does not remove or use up in any way, up to 7 positive charms that would be on the target, and gives the caster up to 35% balance blades. So if you are fighting a creature that is spamming themselves, oh, I don't know, like another balance creature, and they have 4 blades on, it won't remove any of those blades, but it will give the caster yourself 4 35% balance blades. Oh yeah. And finalement, Judgement. Hello, gorgeous. This is very interesting, the top path. It does 100 balance damage per pip, as usual. Then at tier 2, it does 100 balance damage per pip plus 5. Then at tier 3 plus 10 per pip. I'm assuming it's per pip. That would be ridiculous if it didn't. This is no advanced combat, no PvP, etc. I wonder if it's also no boosting, with the sun enchant spells. Interesting. And then at tier 5 plus 20. And then, if you pick the lower path, this one is no longer a per pip spell. It costs 6 pips. It does 490 balance damage, and it says 2 times echo. I'm guessing that means it echoes up to 2 heal over time to give you 660 heal over time for 5 rounds. If the target has 4 heal over time on you, you're still only going to get 2 on yourself. Interesting. So that is quite interesting with those spells. Which one do you like the best? I'm so sad that they're not the Wrath of spells, but if they were the Wrath of spells, you would have absolutely no desire to go farm for those jewels. Although it was kind of funny, kind of, for a little while, that the gear that had Wrath of Zeus jewel was bugged and you hit yourself. It was kind of ridiculous. But they did end up fixing that. Actually, you know what? Why don't we just buy some packs right now, the event Spellement pack, and see if we can get some of these new spells in here. Yeah, Heckhound, that's the one. Heckhound is the one that I got in here. But I'm not seeing the other ones in here. Interesting. So those are rank 5 spells. So maybe, also let's see if Immortal's Lore might have the new ones as well. Probably not. No, we gotta feed a battle site. So let's check the Malistaire Saga Spellement pack. Well, of course, we didn't get any on this one. How about the Morganthe Saga Spellement pack? Well, so far not seeing those there, but we can look in there and see here. Okay, let's check the Malistaire one. Immortal Spellement pack. That one doesn't have anything new. And then check the event Spellement pack. Nope. So I am not sure where you're going to get those. So cool. Look how pretty that is. Wow, look at these fun spells. Oh, they're so tiny. Star Shield, Trap Dilution, and Super Snowburst, I'm guessing is what that says. Oh, and by the way, you can get your weakness spells, the newer ones, from Sabrina Greenstar. Your own school is free. Yay! And the learned school weakness spells are minus 35%. And she already had the shield spells for your school. However, I don't see anything for the balance. I mean, you can already train weakness from Arthur Weathersfield, but the teasers, they showed us a little something different. And as people suspected, Niles has elemental weakness and spirit weakness. And these are minus 30% to the elemental or spirit schools. And these two, you have to be level 15 to purchase with your training points, unless of course you are balanced. And since there's not too many people on Test Realm at this moment, we'll just go ahead and end it here after checking out those awesome, amazing spells. By the way, you can get the Spellements from this guy here if you can beat him, which I haven't quite figured out just yet. Let me know what you think about all this new goodness, and we'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.